as a significant step towards peace in Gaza and the region. French President Emmanuel Macron has said that the release of the hostages makes peace possible for Israel and Gaza and the wider region, expressing joy alongside families and the Israeli people. European diplomacy chief Kaja Kallas has highlighted U.S. President Donald Trump's role in achieving this crucial milestone towards peace. China has also welcomed the hostages release, urging stability in the region, while United Nations Secretary-General António Guterres called for all sides to build on this momentum to end this conflict. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz has urged President Donald Trump to use his influence to pressure Russia to end the war with Ukraine, following the U.S.-brokered ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas conflict. Now we go back to our guest discussion with Mohammad Osman. He's an international relations specialist, and John Rosamondo. He's the president of Viking Research Associates and geopolitical analyst, joins us live from Washington, D.C. First, Osman, I would like to take your take. Again, the same question as I asked earlier to John. Will Arab countries be able to trust U.S. again? And can U.S. gain the trust back? And also noting that Benjamin Netanyahu might not be welcomed in Sharm el-Sheikh to attend this conference, to attend the summit, sorry.
I will begin with what you just alluded to. Minister Netanyahu was not invited. This is not true. President Trump, the Americans today requested that that Netanyahu be invited. And upon the recommendation and the request of the Americans, the Egyptian president extended an invitation to the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. And what did Netanyahu do? He said that he rejected the invitation, said that he cannot come because of the Sukkot holiday, a Jewish holiday that takes for about a week or something. You know, such a silly excuse not to come. And the real reason Netanyahu did not come is because he has no interest in maintaining a durable peace in the Middle East. President Trump is forcing the Israelis to take this deal. As you man, we all have to understand that. If it was up to Netanyahu and his clique of right-wing fanatics who are running Israel, they would completely obliterate this agreement immediately and resume the war of annihilation and genocide. I think that Israel's motives behind this war go way beyond the idea of security guarantees or security concerns. It actually concerns the liquidation, the definitive liquidation of the Palestinian state and the ethnic cleansing of the Palestinians out of what remains of historical Palestine, basically the West Bank and Gaza. However, the Americans seem not to be on board with this, and this is something that is good. And it does serve, which brings me to the first part of your question, it does serve to deepen the trust between the Arab stakeholders and the United States. The United States has a strategic relationship, decades-old strategic relationship with a multitude of Arab countries and several heavyweight regional Arab and Islamic powers. Countries like the United States, countries like Egypt, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, all of these, Qatar, very, very influential countries that have a very, very huge influence in not only in the Arab world, but in the Arab world, the Middle East, the wider Islamic world, and even the global South. So when the United States takes advantage of its deep or struggles to maintain these deep partnerships and alliances, it has to do so by taking into account the interests and the visions and the opinions of those powers. And I think that the United States is doing just that now, being more balanced. Of course, they are much more biased towards the Israeli side. However, now they are way more balanced. At least now we can speak about a common agenda, an agenda of peace, a cessation of hostilities, the withdrawal of the Israeli army from Gaza, and at the same time the disarmament of Hamas and the replacement of Hamas's government with a technocratic Palestinian government. And I think it should be connected with or its reference point should be the Palestinian Authority, which rules parts of the West Bank, and also it is the legitimate government of Palestine and the sole representative of the Palestinian people that is recognized by the international community. So I think there are positive steps that are being taken along the way. There are disagreements between the Arabs and the United States with regards to the idea of placing Gaza under some sort of international trusteeship or a board of peace or whatever President Trump was proposing. However, President Trump did say that he is willing to revisit such propositions and discuss other alternatives, or maybe attempting to blend both propositions. All of these are possible outcomes of the talks today and moving forward with even future talks. I think that today's conference in Sharm el-Sheikh will be a launching point for a very solid dialogue with regards to the continuation of the calm in Gaza and the cessation of hostilities in Gaza, and will actually discuss the post-war governance and the reconstruction of the Gaza Strip, and of course the withdrawal of the Israeli army from the entirety of the Gaza Strip. These are things that should be achieved by the Trump agreement, or the Trump proposal, which was promulgated in Sharm el-Sheikh, and it will carry a lot of weight with the presence of so many world leaders and regional leaders who will all sign off the agreement and endorse it, so it might gain international legitimacy, including the United Nations. The Egypt did propose that this agreement should be adopted by a UN Security Council, and I think if this happens, it will further its international and legal legitimacy, and it will give Israel much less leeway or space to weasel out of any commitments or not comply with the provisions and its obligations under this agreement, Asuma.
Yes, Osman, thank you for enlightening us and sharing that. And John, what do you think, moving on, alongside all the leaders that Osman has mentioned, what will be the role of Europe in particular for this ceasefire to hold on and the peace in this particular region, Gaza and Israel?
Well, I mean, the Europeans are, foremost behind, supporting, the imposition of the ceasefire. But if I could add something, I think that my colleague here misunderstands the Israeli system. The reason that Netanyahu and people like him have been able to win in Israeli parliamentary elections is the fear of Hamas, the fear of lack of security. Providing security guarantees could help to embolden the parties in Israel that are opposed to Netanyahu. I mean, there was a big demonstration against Netanyahu in Tel Aviv days ago. So, that's the one thing that Netanyahu has used since '96 is the fear of, terrorist activities, the fear of Hamas. If we could work to remove that, then maybe we can have a more sensible government in Jerusalem.
Thank you to both our guests for sharing that. I would like to address the live visuals that are coming in from Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt. The leaders have gathered and the leaders are ready to welcome President Trump. We see that President Trump is now entering the building hosted by President Sisi of Egypt, and all the delegations getting inside of the building as the summit is supposed to take place soon. Now we go back to our news here. Gazan detainees have arrived in Khan Yunis after being released by Israeli authorities as part of the prisoner hostage swap deal. Some of the released prisoners have expressed feelings of joy, but also noted that the happiness was tempered by the fact that many Palestinians remain in Israeli jails. Others arriving in Ramallah, West Bank, have also reflected mixed emotions as they celebrated their release while acknowledging the ongoing suffering of those still imprisoned. Let's listen in to some of the released Palestinian prisoners.
طبعا نكلوا فينا الكلبشات، صار لنا 24 ساعة في ايدينا محزوكات على الآخر، ممنوع نقوم على الحمامات، قاعدين على الصرار وعلى البيس كورس، كل شوي يجي واحد يضربونا على رؤوسنا ويضربونا على ايدينا ويضربونا على جرينا بالعصي وبالهروات، ما خلوا أسلوب، يعني لآخر لحظة حاولوا ينزعوا الفرحة، ولكن أن لهم الحمد لله رب العالمين طلعنا لقينا أهلنا وإخواننا.
أكلنا ضربات جانبي هون، فإلي 3 أيام بقدرش أنام، لا على الجنب اليمين ولا جنب الشمال ولا كنت صعوبة، يعني بظني زي هيك قاعد بنام وأنا قاعد. بقدرش اتمدد على ظهري ولا اروح على اليمين ولا الشمال. فالحمد لله رب العالمين.
حمنقوصة لأنه ترك خلفه إخوان وأصدقاء وأصحاب وأسرى ووضعهم صعب جدا من ناحية صحية، من ناحية معاملة، ضرب، إهانة، من جميع النواحي صعب. والله يكون في عون شعبنا في غزة. يعني احنا في النهاية بصراحة شو ما صار فينا صراحة لا يقارن باللي بيصير في غزة.
بفرحة عارم، فرحة كبيرة إن الواحد بيلتقي أهله وبيلتقي أحبابه، والحمد لله رب العالمين صفحة وانقبض، ولكن هناك في غصة في القلب. تركنا إخوة إلنا وأعزاء إلنا، يعني آمنا بالله عز وجل ثم آمنا بإخواننا أن يقوموا.
Now emotional reunions have unfolded today as released Israeli hostages returned home after over 2 years in Hamas's captivity. Published by the Israeli army and the families themselves, the heartwarming videos captured by Israeli Gilboa Dalal, Yusuf Shaim Ohana, and Eitan Abraham Moore and Matan Angrest embracing their loved ones in deeply emotional moments. Gilboa Dalal's mother could be heard repeatedly shouting his name as she hugged him while his family wrapped in an Israeli flag. Yusuf Shaim Ohana's father, tears in his eyes, hugged his son tightly while reciting Jewish prayers and expressing relief, saying 2 years, 2 years. Eitan Abraham Moore has also shared a similar tearful reunion with his parents, with his father crying as his mother recited a Jewish prayer in gratitude. Meanwhile, Matan Angrest, sitting between his parents on an army helicopter, held up a whiteboard with a message to loved ones praising Israel's soldiers for their role in securing his release. These reunions marked a poignant moment in the aftermath of a U.S. brokered deal aimed at ending the war in Gaza, which saw 20 hostages freed. However, the fate of many others remain uncertain, as 28 hostages, including 26 believed to be dead, are still unaccounted for. In exchange for the hostage release, Israel has agreed to free nearly 2,000 Palestinian prisoners and detainees.